Throughout the length of its history, the Earth was once home to life forms, completely different. One of them, they look like creatures out of the world of imagination, while others seem quite familiar. It belongs to us. Dinosaurs, of course. They're famous creatures, most impressive in the past. They dominate the rights of the Earth throughout 145 million, creating countless species and morphological diversity. However, about 66 million ago, our planet is once again changing its inhabitants due to a global disaster. The details are still quite vague. Almost all animals weighing more than 25 kilograms were wiped off the face of the Earth in a very short time. If considered according to geological standards, the empty lands, it was quickly taken over by new residents. The animals are in the relentless struggle for survival. More and more new species appear until a unique creature is born. Instead of adapting to the harsh nature, it chooses to regulate nature, to serve your needs. This creature is not the largest, strongest, or fastest. Why did he become the king of all things? Mass extinction event at the end of the Cretaceous. The early Paleogene ushered in a new geological era, Cenozoic neoplasm. This era started 66 million years ago, and it's still going on. Throughout this period, the Earth's surface has undergone global changes, and it's home to countless animals. The first phase of this new era is called Paleogene. Paleogene era. It started right after the cataclysm that wiped out the dinosaurs. 43.0005. The face of the Earth has changed dramatically. During this time, India crosses the ocean and almost VA on the south coast of Asia. The Himalayas stretch their peaks to the sky, and Antarctica began to grow. The giant ice cover. In the first 10,000.005, the Earth's health is still recovering after the fateful blow. With the old airs gone, animals that are flexible and have strong vitality. The animals are, quickly, wide land and occupy vacant ecological niches. On a quest for new forms, life continues to evolve to create the ferocious Andrewsatus, Inricatarium huge and tough. The same species, Iaceti, lives underwater, the prehistoric ancestors of today's whales. Many of these strange creatures have gone extinct, without leaving a trace, while others continue to evolve, to adapt to changing conditions. About 23,000.005 the Paleogene ended and was replaced by the Neogene. Lasting about 20,000.005. The Neogene is divided into two unequal periods, where the longer period is called Miltonan. This is a period of slow and steady cooling. The ice caps on Earth are slowly growing, while the climate gets colder and drier. Global sea levels are starting to drop. The opposite, mountains such as the Alps and the Alps continue to rise. The result of this process is the Mediterranean Sea, cut off from the global ocean, and almost dry. Instead, it's become a vast land. It's covered with SA. According to some estimates, the temperature in some areas of the area has reached up to 80 degrees Celsius, while pressure, the atmosphere at the bottom of this valley, is and we're familiar with higher. There are only a few small lakes with extremely salty water scattered across the arid desert sea, and there's no life. In that period, large areas of their planet were home to countless strange creatures. Ziggon-Tobias curse. It's a giant ape. They are related to life. over 3 meters high and weighs up to half a ton, about 500 kilograms, moving mightily through the jungles of Asia. Antilodon, a predatory and scavenger claw. It's about the size of a cow. To make the animals that live in the grasslands terrified, and in its deep ocean, dominated by megalodon, the largest predatory shark in the history of the Earth. A little over 5 million years ago, this area is called Brunta. I saw a terrible earthquake. The stone dam that separates the Mediterranean from the Atlantic. For hundreds of thousands of years, it finally broke, and millions of new water flooded into the Great Depression without life. According to estimates, the force of the water is 400,000 compared to the force of a large river, and it only took 2 years for the sea to be filled again. At the same time, thousands of tons of salt buried under layers of sand and rocks, and it's still there. This great flood is called the Zanclean Flood. It's considered the beginning of the Pleistocene. It lasted 2,445,000 years. At that time, the 6 provinces had drifted to the mind we are familiar with today, but the terrain continues to form. North and South America, for example, was still divided by a wide straits at the beginning of this century, and the Rocky Mountains just started to form. Earth's climate in the first half of the Paleozoic was quite warm, with the planet's average temperature higher than 2 to ba degrees compared Celsius to the present. Despite the disparity, it's not evenly distributed across the globe. Climate at tropical latitudes similar to today's, but the northern areas are much warmer. The Arctic was never covered in ice, and the dense forests of Lakim, reaching all the way to the extreme north of the 6 continents of Europe. However, it should be noted that, borders of the 6, the area was then further south than it is now. Because the average sea level at that time, it's about 25 meters higher than today, due to higher temperature. Meanwhile, the first ancestors of modern humans living in Africa, the fossils were unearthed of the ancient primates. This age is old, 46 million years ago. Structure. Their bodies are still very different compared to modern humans. No doubt about it. These are the highly evolved apes, not humans. That they've taken the first step as it evolves into a new form of life. The characteristics of the discovered skeleton suggest evolutionary trend of upright posture. Although the tree's Leo behavior is still very pronounced. About skull capacity, it's bigger than chimpanzees. And structure, teeth began to resemble later species. What forced the ancient primates changed so much? One reason could be about 3 million years ago. The plains of North and South America have VA touching, rapidly raised the base stone. The straits between the 6 continents are sealed by the Isthmus of Panama, blocking the ocean's warm waters. At the same time, the Rocky Mountains have risen dramatically, forming a barrier between the Atlantic air currents and the Pacific. It combines all these factors. The Earth is getting colder, and some areas are starting to get covered in ice. The North Pole is covered in permanent ice. Greenland begins to accumulate millions of tons of ice, while the forests of Africa are shrinking. Give way to the prairie, an van. The tree's top used to be an ideal safe haven. Comfort and plenty of food. This is the habitat that ancient primates live in. Very adaptable. They've evolved very well to live in trees. However, global climate change has wiped out most of Africa's forests. Thousands of species have lost their habitable habitats, and many species have gone extinct. The rest must like it. How to survive in new conditions. Today, the van hypothesis. It's the most developed and supported theory of human origin. According to this theory, the lack of familiar food and the disappearance of the forest that forced our ancestors to come out of the savannah, Kush danger. At that time, they were able to move on 2 legs and use rudimentary tools, like the apes. These skills are essential to survival in new conditions. Easily digestible fruits and plants are rare in van, and the weeds and leaves can't be eaten. For the primates, The exploitation of sources from animals become the key to survival. However, to hunt successfully, you need speed and strength. What our ancestors lacked. It's just developing an upright posture. New benefit. It's necessary in that situation. Walking on 2 feet. It's not just about moving faster. It also allows you to see the prey and remote danger. When the body is in an upright position, strong hands with flexible fingers are free. Make it easier to use sticks or sharp stones. By forming small tribes, the new inhabitants of the savannah can hunt, or at least stealing carcasses from other predators. People think that the need for coordinated action in the process has stimulated the development of the brain and primitive languages. Gradual evolution over millions of years. It's given to primates like Oedipus circus and Sahelanthropus human-like characteristics. And that's how the Arcangelo pizza cut was born. Agile creatures. This smart but not big thing is happening in Africa. Between 4.2 and 8 million years Analysis of their fossils shows that height 120,140 centimeters and weight about 40 kilograms. It's different from other primates. Artolopithecus moves mainly with 2 legs, although the position is still slightly bent in terms of brain size, though larger than the apes. But the internal structure isn't that different. It's known that Archaeopteryx lived by tribe and have the ability to cooperate in hunting and defense. Research shows that the first species only the items that are available around, while later species started making tools simple to work with and defend yourself. However, most individuals do not live beyond 20 years of age, trauma and predator attack. It seems that the predators of that time, arthropods, are a food source. At that time, there was the appearance of dinosaurs, a huge saber-toothed cat, distantly related to Spinosaurus. The species will appear later. The excavations revealed this species prefers to live close to where its young are. Clearly see them as easy prey. Dane Phillips is bigger than a modern newspaper, stronger and stronger body, with weight up to 120 kilograms, and it's about 70 centimeters high. This predator is hard to beat by a single individual. It can only be resisted by the joint efforts of the group. Of course, Dinophilus doesn't just hunt Archaeopteryx. The antelope or the wild boar is also on its menu. Most of the major animals that live on Earth. The soil was similar to today's species. However, there are real monsters among them. For example, in North and South America, there are many birds of prey that can't fly, of the family Pharaohacerae, with the largest individuals up to 3 skull meters is up to 75 centimeters long. It's mostly a big, healthy mine. Thanks to long legs and muscles, this bird can run very fast. Fortunately for humans, you don't have to face these monsters, because Pharaohacerae are completely extinct about 100.0 before the first ancient tribes appeared in the Americas. Meanwhile, the primeval forest is home to another giant species. The sign here is an elephant, with volume up to 14 trillion and height from 3.5 to 4.5 meters. Of all the land mammals that ever existed, only in recall, helium and mammoths are bigger. The distant relatives of this elephant are thought to be. They live in the forests of Asia and Africa, mainly eating leaves. Their proboscis may be shorter and larger than modern elephants, and the most striking feature is the large pair of growing tusks from the lower jaw. 2,588,000 years ago, a big event happens called the Gosmeshama reversal. The Earth's 2 poles swapped positions, and all the quantum lines changed direction. This process is accompanied by a strong weakening of the word. Reduced by 4 times. That means that cosmic rays want to be deadly. It could reach the surface of the Earth, although this phenomenon only lasted about 15,000 years. Very short, according to geological standards. But it's caused mass extinctions in many countries. Species. This reversal is seen as the beginning of a new century. New geology quaternary. The 4th century is divided into 2 periods. The first one was the PlayStation. It started 2,588,000
It ended
years
about
ago.
12,000 years ago.
The climate of this period varies according to the cold cycle.
It's accompanied by the growth of the ice caps. Between ice ages, temperature rises and the ice
Make
melts.
a sea rise.
The climate changes.
Often this forces the organism to
Suspect quickly.
and that's what drives evolution. Through gradual evolution, Anthroposaurus gave birth to two large species of pterosaurs. The first is the now extinct Paranzellurus, and Homo that modern humans represent. However, these three branches used to
For a
coexist
long time,
in conditions of intense competition for survival.
the evolutionary path from the high primate.
People are not straight. Well, there's obviously been a lot of dead ends and twists and turns. At least 24 different types have
living
been
on our
born
planet.
at different times. That to some extent can be seen as people. The process of human evolution and ancestors are always well researched, and the details are constantly being updated. It's important to remember that evolution is a very slow process. It takes at least 23 million years to keep the species completely separate, and if the half-blood can make the half-blood alive. Whereas the whole history of Homo, including modern humans, it's only about 2 to 5 million years. If you include our oldest ancestors, this number can be doubled. In addition, many populations live in adjacent areas. That means in the natural world, there are likely to be many hybrids. It should also be noted that the level of diversity in the same species is very high. Men and women are distinctly different, and people of different races. There are also very different appearance characteristics. It's thought that ancient humans, it's also divided into races, some of which may have been confused, and categorized them as separate species. New archaeological discoveries help correct these errors and add more important information. Although there are many characteristics of progress, Pisacus is more like an ape than a human. The first representative, widely recognized by mankind, is Homo habilis. It's called a skillful person. The excavations revealed this species lives in Africa from about 2.3 to 1.5 million years ago. They have more developed brains than Achylopiscus and have the ability to build rudimentary labor tools. Average height about 1.2 weight meters, about 50 kilograms or less. And what's interesting is that this is the first species
It's in line
with toes,
with the
other fingers. Just like people today. Signs that they liked it, completely suspicious of upright posture. Another important feature is the functional structure, demonstrated ability to gradually develop language, and has clear syllables. Then evolution spawned Homo agaster, workers about 2 million years ago, and Homo erectus who stands upright. Scientists now classify these two species, or two closely related evolutionary branches, subspecies of the same species. In the process of migration, these representatives of humanity settled in Africa, Asia and Europe, facilitating the emergence of new branches of evolution. One of those branches was eventually born, Homo sapiens. Whether they were Neanderthals or Homo sapiens, they all live in tribes and have nomadic lifestyles. They're hunter-gatherers. You have to move constantly, expanding into unexplored lands. That way, proto-tribes gradually settled throughout the 6 continents, except for Antarctica. About 50,000 years ago, people began to explore Australia, and about 24,000 years ago, they first set foot in North America through the Bering Isthmus, the wide LAN of primitive tribes across the globe, coinciding with a mass extinction of giant animals. Pleistocene period. 5,010,000 years ago, mammoth and megalithrium elephants. The giant sloth has disappeared from the planet, followed by cats, saber-tooth and other predators. They can't compete for food. Maybe people will share the same fate. If not 12,000 years ago, the Ice Age ended and the Earth's climate became warmer and more humid. The fertile valleys of Mesopotamia and the Nile Delta, allowing our ancestors to moving from a nomadic lifestyle to the sea settlement. And then we form a real farming community in the new stone-pouring revolution. It's also the end of the Platon era. It's ushering in a new era in Earth's Holocene period. Holocene is a period of rapid growth, civilization of humanity, with social engineering progress along with war, ecological destruction and disaster. By choosing a distinct evolutionary path, people have taken the first step out of the earth to completely new territories, and it's never been discovered. Only time can answer where that road will lead. Dear friends, the subject of human origins remains a mystery and unanswered. If you have any comments, please share them in the comments. Your active participation is very meaningful with us, because we always put our heart in each new episode. Try to make every episode more interesting and more informative. We are always happy to get likes and positive comments from you guys. That's what motivated us to produce video new faster. Hi, and see you in the videos. Next.